That's the part that a lot of people don't get to see, the silence, the whoosh. A lot of people are expecting that.
Yes, he.
Also by doing a lot of, they get frustrated from it. Then you start seeing this.
Meetings are said like this.
Well, I feel like you probably knew this one was coming. When Leanne goes out of town, Davis gets into a little... He gets into the tiny little intricacies of the unique expressions of his innermost self. And one of those was going to the library and checking out this DVD right here, The Very Best of the Dog Whisperer with Cesar Millan. Now, the reason I checked it out is because years ago when I was in the hospital after my accident, Kent and Mom were reading me from this book, this Malcolm Gladwell book, What the Dog Saw. And they read me the story of Cesar Millan that he wrote, the little essay he wrote on Cesar Millan. And I just found it fascinating. I just thought it was so cool. This guy, this human who's able to communicate with dogs in such a spiritual way, found his calling at such a young age, and became sort of this like Pied Piper for dog advocacy, you could say. But I'd never really seen the show. I think I probably saw it like once or twice, maybe. I sought it out on YouTube after the accident for sure. But I just was in the library looking around, and I saw this little guy on the side, and I was like, I'm gonna see what that's all about. And so I spent about an hour and 45 minutes last night watching the best of The Dog Whisperer, and let me tell you, it was great. So Cesar was born in Mexico, where he grew up on his grandfather's farm, and he learned he learned from an early age that he had a deep connection with dogs. In fact, he was made fun of by a lot of fellow kids in the neighborhoods because of his connection with dogs, because he was just so drawn to them, and they were so drawn to him. He would walk through the village and they would just sort of follow him. He developed this ability, over time, and eventually moved to the United States illegally, actually, and when he was 21 years old. And the first sentence he often quotes himself saying, the first sentence he learned how to say is, "May I have an application for work, please?" Or something like that. Something about application for work. So he started off doing, I think he found his way to get to some kennels to work, and people were amazed because he wasn't afraid of the severely aggressive dogs. He was really able to understand them. And eventually he started working at a dog walking service, and he was known and sort of like, people thought, well, who is this guy? Because he would walk this pack of dogs through Inglewood and here in LA without a leash. And so, most people are like, oh, you have these leashes and they're trying to catch up with these dogs. And this guy is just sitting here, standing rather, with calm and assertive energy, guiding, he's the leader of the pack. He's guiding his pack. And, what you saw earlier in those clips of him, displaying the dogs, is that he really understands the psychology of dogs. And I should say first, before I go into that, he was, I think Will and Jada Pinkett Smith found him, and he helped them with their dogs, and they paid for a year's worth of English training. And then he, eventually got so much notoriety that he became the Dog Whisperer and had his TV show. So he really understands the nature of dog psychology. The first thing he does when he meets a dog is he holds his ground. He's proud, assertive about his energy, but he's very calm. He's not tense at all, and he doesn't look at them. He just lets the dogs be. He lets himself be, and the dogs sort of, sniff around and start to get to know him. And then when he is trying to redirect behavior, what I love about him is he really toes the line between what we're afraid to do with dogs and what dogs need, which is, their mother is going to grab them by the scruff, if they're going to teach each other something, they're going to teach it through touch. They're going to nip at each other. They're going to say, I don't like that. And they're going to do that with their mouths. They're going to bite their hips, for example. So the way he works with dogs is that he uses assertive touch, and at first he he doesn't use as much sound because he knows the sound is sort of a next level thing. He uses this idea of taking a dog, helping remind them of the pack mentality. So the first thing he'll do actually is also just take them for a walk, because he says that dogs are so, especially if they've been adopted from a kennel situation and they get taken to a home situation, they immediately start to sort of revert back to this cage-like behavior. They feel stuck. So he says the first thing that they ought to do is take them on a walk, give them that sense of freedom, that sense of, you're not trapped here. And I think what blows my mind is how quickly dogs respond to his energy, and how the way he describes his work is that he is a rehabilitator of dogs and a trainer of people. So I think a lot of people think of him as a trainer of dogs, but he doesn't do that. He helps dogs find themselves, and he helps humans learn how to treat their dogs, how to interact with their dogs in a way that really emphasizes their dogness. I think the most incredible thing to me about Cesar is that he is capable of doing all of this typically in a few hours, if not less. He's able to bring dogs who are exhibiting specific behaviors that are hyper aggressive, defensive. This one dog in this DVD wasn't able to. One time he lost his footing. He's a big dog, sort of like a Marmaduke type dog, and he lost his footing running through the halls of a school that his mom brought him to, and he slipped and hit some glass, and so he's terrified of shiny floors. And it took Cesar like 15 minutes to get him, or less, to get him onto those floors. He was like totally wouldn't do it. And I don't know, I just admire his deep love, his deep sense of purpose, the artistry of the spirit. He knows that dogs feel our energy. He always talks about standing proud and calm, and how much we could do for our fellow creatures on this planet if we were less afraid, less tense, more able to really speak their language. And how many times have you seen people with dogs who are just out of control and they just don't know what to do? How many times have I been in a situation where I feel so out of control and don't know what to do with dogs? He gets it. And he's had such an interesting life. I mean, it hasn't been easy. His personal life, divorce, he lost one of his incredible dogs that he used often as an example to other dogs, because of how calm this dog was. Daddy. He actually adopted this dog, Daddy, from Redman. And when Daddy passed away in 2010, it was right around the time he got divorced, and he even attempted suicide at that time. But he's come back since. He's working with his sons now, and that's almost irrelevant to what this guy is capable of. He's such he cares so deeply. And I think as a lover of all life forms, and as a lover of all the creatures on the planet, I think you could really appreciate it. There's a simple, beautiful, spiritual connection that we have with all things, and Cesar Millan is nothing if not an example of that. And with that, I leave you. Happy Friday, brother. I love you, and I hope you enjoy a couple more clips of Cesar Millan at his most hilarious and endearing. All right. Peace out. Bye.
I command respect.
Is the new dog whisper in the block? You're pretty cute. I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Oh, thank you.
Is the human son